When you do the review sheet, you're going to see the answers for the quiz. Any question before we start? Any comments, concern, complaint? Remember, this Friday is a Monday schedule. So Friday, we're not going to meet. This week, today is the only class we have for our class. And next week, we are going to meet again Tuesday, and we are going to have your lesson. Chapter 10. And for chapter 11, you can just watch the recording. Okay, so 10.5, rationalize the denominator. We have two types of denominator. Depending on the denominator, we use different methods. Do you remember? Little bit. When you have only one denominator, so it's too small, let me write a little bigger. We have 14/5 square root of 2. We have only one root, only one term in the denominator. For only one term, how do we rationalize? We use conjugate for two denominator, for two terms, like the right page, conjugate. But for the left page, what do you use? What do you need to multiply by? Who remembers? Good job. 2 to the power 4. Why 2 to the power 4? So that we have the same amount of power as the radical. So we have only 1 2 given here. If you have 4 more, we have to roll 5 of them under the 5th radical. So 5 radical and 5 power cancel out. We get only 2. And that is our goal. Rationalize the denominator. Means get rid of the radical from the denominator. And on the numerator, we have 14 and 5th root of, what is 2 to the 4? 16. So you write 14, 5th root of 16. And then what do you observe? What do you see? 2 cancel out 14. 2 goes to 14 how many times? 7. So we have 7, 5th root of 16. And that's the final answer. So when it says simplify, you cannot stop until you really simplify everything, whatever is simplificable. Now for the right side, we have two terms. One is 6 and one is radical 3. When you have two terms, how do you rationalize? Conjugate. So what's the conjugate of the denominator? 6 minus square root of 3. So you multiply both numerator and denominator by 6 minus square root of 3. We love conjugate because then I have to FOIL. When you multiply to conjugates, what do we get? 6 square minus square root of 3 square. So basically we get the difference of their powers, their square powers. That means we get 36 minus, what is square root of 3 square? The radical and 2 cancel out. We get only 3. So what is our denominator? 33. And what do the numerator? Keep it. Because 33 is divisible, 33 and 9 is divisible. So don't do anything. 6 minus radical 3. 6 minus radical 3. 6 minus radical 3. Why did I keep it? What do you observe at the end? 9 and 33, they both are divisible by what? 3. So when you divide both of them by 3, what do you get on the numerator? 3/11, and we have 6 minus radical 3. You can stop here if you want. Or if you want, you can go further. You can write 18 minus 3 radical 3 divided by 11. Both of them are correct. You did distribute here. So when you distribute, you have to cancel both of them again. I mean, you get partial credit, but you lose points because it doesn't simplify. Anytime you can simplify anything, you should simplify. Okay, so yeah, in the quiz, if you didn't simplify, you're going to lose points. What number 2? Yeah, I'm going to do it with the rest of the radical. So the extra credit from chapter 11. The discriminants are given based on the discriminant. You write down the information. When the discriminant is 0, how many solutions we have? 1. What are they, real or imaginary? Real. So how many x-intercept we have? 1. Now when you have discriminant 16, 2, real or imaginary? Real. And how many x-intercept? 2. How about 12? 2, real, 2. And how about negative 41? Number of solution. 2 solution. But are they real? No. They are imaginary. We do have solution, imaginary. But in this case, how about the x-intercept? It doesn't exist because real x-intercept has to be real. If you don't have any real number, you cannot have an x-intercept. Now, about the rationale. Rational means fraction or whole numbers. Whole numbers are also rational because every whole number has 1 below that. So you can write it as a rational. But mostly rational means fraction. On the other hand, irrational. Irrational is a number that we cannot simplify. For example, square root of 2, irrational. Square root of 3, irrational. Square root of 5, irrational. If you have pi is an irrational. Like any number that you cannot reduce to anything, that is irrational. Now, here, this 0 is under the radical, right? Discriminant means whatever you under the radical. So square root of 0, is it a whole number? I mean, is it a rational number or irrational number? Rational, because we can reduce. It's 0. So this is rational. We have 16 under the radical. Square root of 16, can you reduce it? What do you get? 4. So is it rational or irrational? Rational. 12 is under the radical. Can you reduce completely? Not completely. So we still get some portion that is not reducible. So is it rational or irrational? Irrational. And lastly, square root of negative 41. Can you reduce square root of negative 41 into a whole number? So is it rational or irrational? Irrational. So that's all we have to do. In the final exam, sometimes they ask for rational or irrational, which I forgot to teach you in class. But now you know. Any question? Okay. The next one is radical. Do you remember about the bodyguards? Killing the bodyguards? So this radical, does it have any bodyguard next to that? So what is our first step? Remove the X. So kill the bodyguard. So we have radical. 3x plus 1 is equals x minus 1. And now our radical is alone. What can we do? Square. So we get radical and square cancel out. 3x plus 1. And what do we do on the right side? Well, x minus 1 times x minus 1. So what do we get? Plus 1. So one side has a square and the other side has x. Do you remember what did I tell you? If you have more than one x term, what are you supposed to do? Bring everything to one side. So minus 3x minus 3x minus 1 minus 1. So left side is 0. And on the right side, you have x squared and then minus 5x. Do you have any number? No, they cancel out. So we have a quadratic equation with two terms. How do you solve it?
I did I see that there's a more way
Factor out only x. Anytime we have two terms, we have to use GCF to factor out. Three terms means this factoring, binomial factoring. We cannot binomial factor two terms. We can only take out GCF, means greatest common factor. Two terms means GCF. Three terms means your binomial factors. And then what do with these factors? X equals 0, x minus 5, 0. This is already solved, so we keep it. And what do you get from x minus 5? 5. Are we done? What do you have to do? Checking. This is the one of the most important things, check. In the final exam, this will be multiple choice. So if you show your work, but you forget to check, and then you pick whatever is in front of you, you're going to get 0. Because the multiple choice are tricky. And if you just take the multiple choice, substitute, and then tell me the answer is this is completely 0. So you didn't follow the direction. The direction says solve for x. So you really have to solve for x fast, and then you have to check. You cannot use your substitution. You cannot use your multiple choice to get the answer. So we have 3x plus 1 under the radical equals x minus 1. Of course. Otherwise, how do we know? Did you do it, or did you guess it, or did you copy it from someone? There is no point for copying. There is no point for guessing. Only your own work gets a reward. That's fine. So this is 0. We get 3 times 0 plus 1 equals 0 minus 1. And this is 5. So 3 times 5 plus 1 equals 5 minus 1. So on the left side, what do we get inside the radical? 1. What is square root of 1? When you don't have a variable to solve, square root always spits out positive results. So square root of 1 is only positive 1. But if you do x squared equals 1, then what is x? After taking the square root, then you have two choices because the variable has two choices. But the number itself has only one choice. Anytime the number alone without any variable solving, it's always positive results. So this is one of the most confusing one. People say, well, the answer is positive 1 or negative 1, and they put negative 1, and they said, oh, we have negative 1 here, and we have negative 1 here. So as our x equals 0, we accept. But do you accept x equals 0? No, because this is not -1, this is +1. And on the other side, we get a -1. They are not same, so you cannot accept x equals 0. The two sides didn't match. How about the right one? 3 times 5 plus 1, what do you have? Square root of 16. And what is square root of 16? 4. And how about 5 minus 1? 4. Do you have the same thing? Yep. So this is our only solution. We accept. Any question? Brennan, no computer. You're writing on the computer?
I'll tell you.
Tell me, do tell me. Okay, the next one. What is our first step? Move the 7. So do we add or do we subtract? Subtract 7. The square root of 2x minus 1 is 2x minus 7. And then square both sides. So we get 2x minus 1 equals 2x minus 7 times 2x minus 7. And when you multiply 2x minus 7, 2x minus 7, 4x squared minus 28x 49. If you have no idea how you're figuring that out, you just multiply 2x times 2x, 4x squared. 2x times -7 is -14x. 2x times -7 is -14x. -7 times -7 is +49. So we have like times -14x minus 14x, we get -28x. And then what do we do? The minus 2x minus 2x. Add the 1, add the 1. So 0 equals 4x squared minus, you are subtracting 28 and 2. Patty. Plus 50. And now all these numbers are big. But what do you observe at least? What do you observe among all three numbers? They all are what? They all are even numbers, right? So all even numbers are divisible by at least 2. So if you divide everything by 2, what do you get? 0 equals 2x squared minus 15x plus 25. And now it becomes smaller. So you have two choices. Use AC method to see if it's factorable. If it's not factorable, then you go for quadratic formula. So let's see if it is factorable or not. You multiply A with the C, you get 2 times 25, which is 50. Can you divide 15 into 2 pieces? When you combine, the result is 15. Two numbers multiply to 25. 5 times 10. So 10 and 5. 5 times 10 is 50. 5 and 10 gives you 15. But what would be the sign? -10, 5. -10 times -5 is +50. And -10 minus 5 is 15. So it is factorable. We are using AC method because our A is visible. Anytime your A is visible, you cannot divide everything by A. You have to use AC method if it's factorable.
Oh, and then you think,
Mhm. AC method means you to multiply A with the C. So A is 2, C is 25. What is 2 times 25? 50. And then you split to 50. Two numbers multiply to 50, but combine to 15. That's the AC method. So we know it's -10, -5. So you keep your A terms, 2x squared. You keep your C term, which is 25. And instead of this -15x, you're going to use the two numbers you just found, which is -10x, -5x. To be honest, this is not in our syllabus. It's in chapter 6, but we don't have chapter 6 in our syllabus. So I went to the department once and asked them, well, why we are doing the stuff? It's not in the syllabus. And we are going over them in chapter 10, 11. And they said, well, students supposed to know that from before. I'm like, really? They're supposed to know this before.
I remember that.
Yeah. But this is what department told me, like, this is background knowledge you're supposed to have. But guess what? If you take 1023, we go over there everything because our syllabus is huge for 1023. It's the same algebra class, but here we skip so many things. And in 1023, they go over every single thing. So 1023 is one way better than 1030. 1030 is for little advanced student who has background knowledge. And for 1023, you don't need any background knowledge. I mean, you do need background knowledge, but you need less background knowledge. But anyway, so this is AC method. You split your 3 terms into 4 terms because when you have 4 terms, there is a method to factor. It's called grouping. Anytime you have 4 terms, you group them into 2 groups. Each group gets 2 terms. And then you factor each group individually. In the first group, what do you see? The GCF. 2x. So you factor out 2x. And what is left in the first group then? X minus 5. And then you observe your second group. In the second group, what do you see in common? -5. Whatever sign you have here, you always have to take out this sign as a common factor. So when you factor out -5, what is left in the second group? X minus 5. You still have your 2 groups. Now this time, what do you observe in both groups? What do you see in both groups? X minus 5. So you factor out x minus 5. My equal sign is in the wrong place. Now, from both groups, if you factor out x minus 5, what is left in the first group? And second group? -5. This is the normal AC method. But I have a weird AC method. And I think I showed you, right? The weird AC method. It's weird, but it's faster, quicker. So let me show you the weird AC method. Weird AC. The weird AC, so we have 2x squared minus 15x plus 15 equals 0. We are going to do the factoring directly, but still you have to use AC. Our AC is 50, and we found the two factors are -10 and -5, right? So use -10 and -5. Just like the normal factoring. You find the two factors, put them in the two parentheses. And then you split 2x squared. So when you split 2x squared, we're supposed to have 2x and 1x, right? This is the normal way of doing it, 2x and 1x. But we do weird stuff. We don't do 2x and 1x. We do 2x and 2x, which is abnormal, not normal, okay? Which is weird. We're not supposed to do that. But if we do that, what do you observe? One of the factor is what? Divisible by 2. Which one? The first one, right? So go ahead, divide. So what do you get? X minus 5 and 2x minus 5. Do you see the same thing? So whatever is easier, you can use that. But you're not done, right? Because you have to solve for x. So let's solve for x here. Insert. You know, once I learned the weird method, I actually love this weird method. It's weird, but it's so cool. So we have x minus 5 equals 0. 2x minus 5 equals 0. So what do you get? X equals? And from here, x equals? If you can do it in one step, no problem. You can do it in 2 steps. You add 5. So 2x is 5, and then divide by 2. So x is 5 over 2. Do you accept both? We have to check. So 2x minus 1, 2x minus 7. 2x minus 1 should be 2x minus 7. 2x minus 1, 2x minus 7. The first one is 5. So 2 times 5 minus 1 should be 2 times 5 minus 7. What do you have inside the radical? 2 times 5 is 10. 10 minus 1. And what is square root of 9? 3. And how about here? 2 times 5? 10 minus 7. Do you have the same thing? So we are going to accept x equals 5. And just because it is a fraction, don't panic, because this fraction is reducible. So it's 2 times 5 over 2 minus 1. And then 2 times 5 over 2 minus 7. We have 2 on the numerator and 2 on the denominator. So we can actually cancel them. So we don't have to work with the fraction. They're reducible. They're cancelable. So life becomes easy. We have 5 minus 1 and 5 minus 7. What is 5 minus 1? And square root of 4? 2. And how about 5 minus 7? Negative 2. Do you have the same thing? No. So can you accept 5 half? We wasted our time. So you always have to check. Sometimes I'm warning you. Sometimes both of them will work. So you accept both. Sometimes none of them will work. So when none of them work, can you guess what the solution will be? No solution. Doesn't exist. It means our square root is strictly lying above the x-axis. There is no solution for that. So I'll give one of these in the exam. So one of the radical, either 1 or 2, not sure. And then definitely this chart, one of the radical. And what's next? Simplifying radical. So multiplying, simplifying, adding, subtracting, those things. So we have square root of negative 6 times square root of negative 12. Do you know what's the common mistake to solve this question? Any idea? Common mistake? Exactly. People, the first thing they do is they multiply -6 with a -12. And they think, oh, life is easy. Because 6 and 12, they become positive, which is wrong. Anytime you see negative inside the radical, your first step always should be pull it out. Whether you need it or you don't need it, it doesn't matter. Always pull it out. So you have to split into two pieces, always. One is square root of -1, and one is the positive number. So -1 and the positive number. Sorry, not 6, 12. Now, why did you pull that? What information we get from square root of -1? I. So they're telling us, hey, the two numbers here, they are not real. And you have two choices. Since 6 and 12, they both are positive, you can multiply them. Or you can distribute your 12. What two numbers you get from 12? 4 and 3. Okay. We can split 6, but people usually don't know that we can split 6. So let's keep 6. And we have I times I, which is I square. What is square root of 4? 2. And since 3 and 6 both are positive, we can multiply them. What do you get? Square root of 18. But 18, can you reduce 18 by a perfect square number? What two numbers do we get from 18? 9 and 2. Square root of 9, square root of 2. 2 is whole number, we bring it down. But how about I square? -1. I square gives us -1. The 2 has nothing to do, so we bring it down. 18 we split into 9 and 2. Now what is square root of 9? 3. So these three things are combinable. This, and this. When you combine all three, what do you get? -6. And what we did not use? The square root of 2. So this is our final answer. -6 square root of 2. Any question? Similar concept. We have 4, so we leave it. Then we have 7, we leave it. But how about 9? What do we do? Square root of -1 and square root of +9. Then -2. And we do the same thing for -36. Square root of -1, square root of +36. -8. We can actually don't have to do -8. Oh, we can just do 4 minus 8. They're like terms, right? Which we didn't notice before. What is 4 minus 8? -4. So you can combine like terms, no problem. So we get -4 minus 7. What is square root of -1? And what is square root of 9? 3. Minus 2 times I. And what is square root of 36? 6. Sorry, adding these 3 or multiplying? How about these 3? Multiply. So -4 minus 21i minus, what do you get? 12i. Do we have any like terms? 21i and 12i. It's 21. So they both are negative. That means you have to keep the negative sign and we actually have to add them. So 21 and 12, what do you get? Let me see. Did you guys notice that I posted the review sheet on Brightspace? And did you also notice that the questions, they have answer on the back, on the second page? The first page is the review sheet, the second page is the answer. Any question? No? Okay, next multiplying. If you're good at foiling, you foil right away, straight. But if you're bad at foiling, you do step by step. If you're bad, you take the first one and you multiply the entire second one. So 9 times 6 minus 7i. And then you take the second term, which is positive 2, and you multiply the entire second one. So plus 2 times 6 minus 7i. So you're distributing and then you're distributing again. So foiling is actually double distribution. So if you're good at foiling directly, you're doing double distribution at the same time. But if you're not good, you should do it double distribution. Distribution once fast and then distribution again. So this distribution is easier now. 9 times 6, 54. 9 times 7i, 63i. And then the next one, 6 times 2, 12. And then 2 times negative 7i. Sorry, this is 2i. 2i. Man, that's what I was thinking, like, we're supposed to have an I square. How come I didn't have an I square? So 2 times 6i, 6 times 2i is 12i. And 2i times 7i, 14i square. What is I square? -1. So the negative 14 will turn into positive 14. And how about in the middle? Negative 63i, positive 12i. What do we get? Minus how much? 51i. And we have our unused 54. Finally, what do we have? These two are like terms, so when you combine, 68 minus 51i. Do you remember doing all this in the class? Great. Then we have another multiplication, but this time we don't have to do foiling. Why not? Conjugate. So what do we get from multiplying conjugates? What do we get? 4 square minus 2i square. The 2i square, you can write 2 square I square. So you square everything and subtract them. The 4 square and then 2 square I square. What is 4 square? 16. What is 2 square? And what is I square? So what do you get here? 16 plus 4. 20. Yes, you can definitely use foiling, but you don't have to. Conjugate supposed to make life easier. And then dividing. Unfortunately, we don't know how to divide the i's. So we do rationalize. And depending on how many terms we have, you rationalize differently. Can you guys see it, or is it too small? Let me rewrite in case it is too small. On the numerator, we have 5 minus I. On the denominator, we have negative 2 minus 3i. So, do you multiply by the conjugate of the numerator or conjugate of the denominator? Which one? Denominator. We never multiply the numerator, conjugate of the numerator for imaginary number. It always have to be denominator. So what's the conjugate for the denominator? Good. Negative 2 cannot change the sign. Only I will change the sign. So negative 2 plus 3i. Negative 2 plus 3i. Both the numerator and denominator. And we know denominator makes our life easier. It's negative 2 square minus 3 square I square. From negative 2 square, what do you get? Positive 4 or negative 4? Positive 4. Difference between 2 square, negative 2 square, and negative 2 whole thing square. Do you remember doing it before the exam 1? When you don't have the parentheses, it means negative is a multiplication. So negative times 4. On the other hand, inside the parentheses means it's base. So it's negative 2 times negative 2 to give you positive 4. This positive 4 minus 9i square. Sorry, what is I square? Negative 1. So what do we have? 4 plus 9, which is 13. And we do the multiplication on the top. So this time, let me do the double distribution, foiling. 5 times negative 2. And then we have 5 times positive 3i. Positive 15i. And then negative I times negative 2. Positive 2i. Negative I times positive 3i. Negative 3i squared. But because of the I squared, the negative 2 will become positive 3. And we have negative 10 unused. But in the middle, we have positive 15i, positive 2i. So what do you get? 17i. Positive 17i. And lastly, we have these like terms. Negative 10 plus 3. What do you get? 13 or 7? Negative 7 plus 79. So negative 7 plus 17i. We have to split the denominator twice. Any question? So what happens when we have only one term on the denominator? What do you multiply by? Good, only I. The denominator doesn't give us any problem. The 4 doesn't give us any problem. The I does. So you multiply numerator and denominator by I, and we get 7I minus 5I squared divided by 4I squared. What is I squared? -1. So we have 7I plus 5 on the numerator, and we have -4 on the denominator. Can we stop here? No. What do you have to do next? Split it, and then also you have to do real number first and I later. So 5 over -4 minus 7I over 4. I mean, you can do plus 7 over -4, but then you have to write -5 over 4 minus 7I over 4. This is A and BI. You have to write in A and BI format. In the final exam, sometimes they give the left one, sometimes they give the right one. But definitely one of them was in the final. And definitely also in class exam. And now from 10, the last thing is reducing the power of I. Back one more. Do you remember how to reduce? What is our first step for this one? Distribute. So 2 cube I to the 7 cube. What is 2 cube? 8. And I to the 7 cube? I to the 21. And then depending on what method you want, you can use your method, but you have to show work. For my case, I showed you odd and even. Is 21 odd or even? Odd. So we're going to split them into odd and even. How many even we have? 20 even and 1 odd. Now, do you remember what we did next? The I we cannot simplify, so we just leave it alone. But you have to reduce the 20 power. How do you reduce the 20 power? If the power is divisible by 4, what's the answer? +1. And if the even power. And if the even power is not divisible by 4, what's the answer? -1. So 20, is 20 divisible by 4? Yes. So answer is 8 times 1 times I, which is 8I. So that means you just have to remember these 2 rules. If the power is divisible by 4, the answer is +1. If the power is not divisible by 4, the answer is -1. But the power means even power. So if you start with odd, make sure you split 1 and keep the even powers separately. Odd power and even power. For example, here we have 4 of these, but we're going to do the same thing. First one is what? Odd or even? Even. The second one is what? Odd or even? Even. The third one is what? Odd or even? Odd. The last one? Odd. That means the first 2, we do not have to do anything besides dividing by 4. If we have 34 divided by 4, can you do that? No. So answer is -1. So it's -1. Minus 2 times 30. Is 30 divisible by 4? No. So answer is -1. So 2 times -1. This I to the 34 is -1. This I to the 30 is also -1. And then we have odd cases. So for odd cases, you have to split them. So it's 3 times I times I. Let me erase this because I don't have space. Minus 4 times I times I. So the 99, let me change the color. 99. How are you going to split the 99? 98 and 1. And how about the 85? 84 and 1. So 98 and 1, 84 and 1. The 1 is invisible, you don't have to show it. And then you ask the same question. Can we divide 98 by 4? Let's see. 4 goes to 9. Twice, we get 1. Sorry, we get 1 remainder 18. Can you divide 4 by 18 evenly? So this is not divisible by 4. So what do we get from the I to the 98? -1. And then we have 84. Can you divide 84 by 4 evenly? Yes, it's 21. So what do we get from 84? +1. So we have -1 here. This one, when you multiply, you get +2. And then you bring down your 3, bring down your I. For the fourth one, bring down your -4, and you bring down your I. So -1 plus 2. From here, what do we have? -3I, and here -4I. So I'm going to combine the result. These two are like terms. 1. These two are like terms. What do you have? -7I. And this is the final answer. Then erase this. Any question? So with this, chapter 10 is over. Any question on chapter 10? Whatever we did from anything, do you have any question? Let me take the attendance and then we are going to do 11.4. B was 21. 21. Ashley? Julissa? Michael? Letty? Lola was here. Jonathan? Reina? Ali absent. Denisa absent. Samantha? Nicole? Andy? Priya? Katie? Absent. Andrew? Here. George? Here. Mariana? Absent. Danielle? Here. Fatimata? Here. Asmain? Here. Shuing? Here. Chloe, Ethan, Kathleen. Oh, you changed your seat, Kathleen. He took your seat. Good job, Alex, taking her seat. She can finally sit in the front. Brennan here. Raim here. Shahana here. Leonardo. Here. Brian R. He was here, okay. Brian V. What? Okay. Gian, absent. Alex here. Anastasia, absent. Okay. Now, with my morning class, I went over chapter 11, entire chapter 11. So for solving, there are either factoring if it's factorable, or you do complete the square if your A is invisible. And if your A is visible, then it's quadratic formula. And if your A is visible and also it's factorable, then use AC method. Probably same. I didn't make the exam yet. And then you have your chart. Either you have to find out the discriminant, or I'll give you the points, and then you just have to do whatever you did for the quiz today. Yeah, but it will not be extra credit anymore in the exam. It will be real question. I'll give you extra credit in this exam. And then we did 4th degree power. So for 4th degree power, we have factoring. Everything will be factorable. Okay. In the homework, you have something not factorable, but in the exam, it will be factorable. So you factor into 2 pieces, and then you take the square root to solve. But remember, when you do the square root of a variable, you always have to put plus minus because you have 2 choices. And if you have 4th degree with 2, that means your goal is to convert them into difference of perfect squares so that you can factor. And again, once you factor, you set each factor equals 0, take the square root, and then use plus minus. For negative power, you do the same thing. You split your coefficients, not coefficient, the constant into 2 pieces, and you power into 2 pieces. And then at the end, you just flip them. And then we did this question, but I said this will be extra credit in the exam. So I'm skipping that, and I'm going to chapter, we did this in the class, remember? Anytime you see right triangle means a square plus b square equals c square. So one of them will be extra credit and one of them will be actual one. And then 11.4. So this is where we stop. This is where we stop in our last class, right? We started doing it, but we didn't complete that. So to find the solution, all you have to do is graph your parabola and then see which x values makes the y positive or makes the y negative. That's all you have to do. So we subtract 10 from both sides of the inequality, and we have x squared minus 3x minus 10 bigger than 0. Bigger than 0 means what you're looking for, positive or negative? Positive. And do you also remember oh wow, it looks so light. Positive. If your inequality doesn't have equal sign, what's the boundary you get? Parenthesis. And if your inequality does have the equal sign, then the boundary is bracket. And also infinity always gets parenthesis. So no equal sign in the inequality and infinity, they always get parentheses. And for equal sign, numbers get the brackets. So we have a parabola, but in order to draw the parabola, we need to know our x-intercept. So how do you find x-intercept from a quadratic equation? We factor, right? What 2 numbers multiply to negative 10 combine to negative 3? -5 and +2. -5 minus 2 is 7. But you're not looking for 7, you're looking for 3. So -5, +2. So that gives us x equals 5 and x equals -2. So what type of parabola we have? So this is one of them and this is another of them. What type of parabola we have? Upward or upside down? Upward. How do you know it's upward parabola? A. Anytime A is positive, it's upwards. So we have an upward parabola and we have -2 here, +5 here. Now the question is asking which x values give you the positive part of the graph. In other words, positive y values. Which x values give you the positive y values? So let's see. This is 5 and this is -2. Let's start to it here. We have 4 here. Does 4 give us a positive y? This is negative. Does 0 give us a positive y? No, this is negative. Does -1 gives us a positive y? No. How about -3 here? Yes, positive. How about -4 here? Positive. How about let me read here. How about let's say -6? Yes, -8. So what is the smallest x value gives you the positive y? Positive infinity. So you have -infinity until -2. And then since our inequality doesn't have the equal sign, they both get parentheses. So this is one part of the solution. -infinity to -2. And when you observe the second part, we know 5 doesn't give us positive, but sorry, 4 doesn't give us positive, but 5 is on the x-axis. So how about 6? So next one starts with 5. When it's 5, we get 0. And then after 5, we have 6. Does 6 give us positive or negative y? 7, 8, 10, 20. So what is the biggest x will give you positive y? Positive infinity. So this portion here, we get the x value 5 for infinity. And for this portion here, we get -infinity to -2. So these are solutions. So main step, what we are doing? First, solve for x. So bring everything to one side if you don't have it already. Then set it equals to 0, solve for x. Those are the x-intercepts. Once you have your x-intercept, graph it, and then see which x values gives you whatever they are looking for. The next one, very similar. We have x squared minus 3x minus 18 less than or equal 0. Now, less than or equal 0 means what they are looking for. Negative or positive? Negative again. Come on. Why it didn't change? Negative. We know it's a parabola, so we need to know our x-intercept. So x squared, I should write it down. Find the x-intercept because we want to graph it. So x squared minus 3x minus 18 equals 0. And most likely they will be factorable in the exam always in this class. What two numbers multiply to -18 combine to -3? -6, +3. So first factor, I skipped that in the last example. First factor give us x equals 6, and the second one will give you x equals -3. So we draw a parabola which has -3 and +6 x-intercepts. What else parabola we draw? Again, another upward. So which x values in this parabola are going to give you -y? So -3 we have, and +6 we have. Now let's see here, -2. For -2, do you have +y or -y? Negative. For 0, negative. For 2, negative. For 5, for 6, 0. For -3, it's 0. For 6, it's 0. And between all the numbers, -3 to 6, we get -y. So solution this time is all the x value starting from -3 to +6, they will give you the -y. And this is the -y we are looking for. -y. Which x values give the -y? This is the answer. The solution. So for inequality, we don't get one solution, we get an interval of solution. Yes, that. Question? If you use this graphing method, I need to see the graph. Otherwise, if you plot points, show me the points.
Yeah.
Show me something. So you definitely have to show me your intercepts.
Yeah.
And then how do you come up with the answer? Show me something. So if you don't like graphing, you don't have to do graphing. For example, the next question, you cannot graph the next question because it's not graphing question. So for the next question, you have to do table method, which is plotting points. So in this method, this will be an extra credit in the exam, okay? But you definitely have to do the quadratic in the exam, and this question will be extra credit. The one you are going to do will be extra credit in the exam. Actually, let me skip this one because I already did this with my morning class. Let me do this one instead. It's the same thing. One of these will be extra credit, rational, and that will be the actual one, actual exam. So here we don't like the denominator, so we're going to get rid of that. But we have to see what makes the denominator 0. We always have to consider that. Which x values? Which x value make the denominator 0? Which x value makes the denominator 0? That means our answer cannot have -7 in it. So if our interval has a -7, we have to use a parenthesis because that number we cannot use. And whatever we cannot use, we represent that by parenthesis. And then we multiply both sides of the equation by x plus 7, so they cancel out. Oops, not this one. The denominator cancel out. We have x plus 4 less than or equal to x plus 7. Right? Because I'm getting to the denominator. Like if you don't like denominator, you multiply both sides, denominator cancel out. But if you want to keep denominator, you just bring the other one to the and then you have a problem, right? So this is a bad method. If you subtract x, there will be no more x. So forget it. Don't get rid of the denominator. Getting rid of the denominator makes everything bad. Subtract 1. So x plus 4 over x plus 7 minus 1 less than or equal 0. And now we are not going to get to the denominator, but we're going to combine them. So if you want to combine a fraction with x plus 7. So we want x plus 7 below 1, but we cannot just simply put it there. We also have to put it on the numerator. So we have x plus 7 on the denominator, which you like. And we have x plus 4 minus x plus 7 less than or equal 0. If distribute the negative, we have x plus 4 minus x minus 7 over the denominator x plus 7. And now they cancel out, but we are not worried about that because it doesn't matter. We still have a fraction. So we have 4 minus 7, which is negative 3 over x plus 7 less than or equal 0. So this original one simplifies down to this thing, negative 3 x plus 7. Now they are saying in this graph, which portion is lying what? I mean, what you're looking for, positive or negative? Less than 0 means negative. Negative or 0. So you're going to have a bracket for numerator. And if the answer is negative 7, it will have parentheses. Unfortunately, we don't have a numerator, right? There is no x. So we're going to have only denominator. So we have negative infinity, positive infinity. From the numerator, there is nothing to solve for. It's only negative 3. It doesn't have any x, so we just simply ignore that. We only care about the x. What as x? This one doesn't have any x, ignore. So we go to the denominator. We have x plus 7, and we know x cannot be negative 7. We already figured that out before. So there's only one number we cannot use, which is negative 7. That means the rest we can use, but the question is, which part going to give us negative? We are looking for negative. So we do plotting points, not plotting points, guessing points. Pick a number smaller than negative 7 or bigger than negative 7. Which one? Anyone? Pick a number. Negative 8. And then substitute here. We have negative 3, negative 8, positive 7. So negative 3 over, what is negative 8 plus 7? Negative 1. And negative divided by negative is positive. Are you looking for positive? So this is not the solution. And then just in case, you can check the other one. 0 is bigger than negative 7. So let's pick 0. We have negative 3 over 0 plus 7, which is negative 3 over positive 7, which is negative, right? And we are looking for negative. The solution is here, the second interval. Solution starts from negative 7, ends at infinity. And both of them will have what? Bracket or parentheses? Parentheses. Because even though we have negative 7, we cannot use it. So anytime you cannot use anything, it's parentheses. Make sure to watch the morning recording, guys. In the morning recording, I went over the last question here. And also, I went over entire chapter 11. So please watch entire chapter 11 and don't be late in the exam date.
I have a question. They said the exam is on 28th. So that day I have a media day for my basketball team at Baruch at 12:30 and classes at 12:25. Is there any way I could do it when I'm done? Or it's like when you take a photo shoot with the team.
would you like to take it on this Thursday?
Sure. Yeah.
This Thursday, I have class from 10 to 12. Can you make it?
Yeah,
Or-
I don't have school that day, so I can come in to do it.
Tuesday. So Thursday,
Thursday, yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
So Thursday, go to room number 12 floor,
12/4,
12175.
12/175.
This Thursday, day after tomorrow.
Okay, then you're gonna be in that class or?
Yeah, it's my morning class.
Okay, 12/75. Okay, thank you.
12 for 175. 175. Yeah, I was thinking about that. In the last exam, we didn't fill that out.
Because I had to go to a doctor's appointment right after.
Mm.